Okay, the question is a child that sends a text, sends an MMS photo, an instant message photo of themselves inappropriately in school. The cell phones are all confiscated. I mean, what's to do? Basically, the school should confiscate those devices because they now possess the information on that photo on there. They need to be erased completely. The law is pretty lax about people that are, like for an example, if I push an item to you in a message, as a police officer, I would find it very hard for me to prosecute you as a recipient of that if you didn't solicit it, okay? But it doesn't dismiss the fact that you're now in possession of it, and I've got to erase that. I've got to get that off of there. It's much more serious if just one cell phone made it out of that secure area, and or with an app in an instant, that photo that I received, I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know Kaylee, boom, 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 up on Facebook right from that same phone. Now I've got to involve Facebook, and I've got to get the custodian of records, and I've got to seize all that account, and I've got to shut it down. And now I've got to take that image as a forensic investigator, and I've got to create an MD5 hash, which is a unique serial number for that photograph, and I got to send it to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to put on the national database. So now that child's naked photo is now part of a huge database now, that anytime a forensic investigator gets a hard drive, we take and generate MD5 hashes of every file on that computer. We don't even look at them anymore. We don't even look at the pictures anymore. As soon as one is reported and we know it's child and it's confirmed child pornography, we create that unique serial number, and then those hard drives are just scanned and all those files are generated, and it just matches against the database. It comes up with a hit. You have known pornography on that computer. So that's how we can search drives and computers really fast now to see if you've got an inappropriate picture. So, but what happens is that information, if they don't take that phone and get it away from them kids right away, it's viral. I mean, it's gone out the door. You can almost bet it'll be on Facebook within 5 minutes. So that's why they did it. And now, do we cross the line of illegal search and seizure and reasonable expectation of privacy? You know what, as a parent, I don't care. Now, I do care about my child's privacy and their right to privacy, but you know what? I'm a little old school, sorry, but you don't need to have a phone in school. Number one, if you do, it's turned off until you need to call me to come pick you up or whatever. I get that. But, hey, if they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, then that's what's got to be done. Ma'am?
Is it a hash?
It's called an MD5 hash. It's a way to take any file on a computer. It's a MD5 hash. And basically what it is we take a piece of software that takes the file and develops this very large social security number for a file. Okay, yeah. It's basically unique. No two files can have the same MD5 hash.
So could one child, though, because I would look at it like a SOCH number, so if one child has 2 photos on their file, do they still just have one?
Each photo gets a unique hash, right? And then those hashes are sent to we call the NCMEC, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and then it goes on the Innocent Images Database project, and then that particular photo is now a permanent record in that database. One thing I think pre-lecture I mentioned that we had an undercover officer had a 15-year-old profile. Law enforcement cannot use real children in the use of their undercover profiles. We use actual pictures of active police officers in their youth because we don't jeopardize a real child. So I have an officer that's using my picture when I was 11 as a UC profile. So that's how we do it. We actually use UC officers we use their pictures when they were children as they do it. So, did that answer your question? Okay. Let's see. I want to talk before we go on to the next slide about the internet control in the home. I mentioned I had a problem with the internet in the house at one point, and that was because my children would come home before I got home, and they'd be on the internet. And of course, well, it's like leaving beer in the refrigerator on a Friday night, right? I mean, they're going to do what they want to do. So I had a problem with it, and for the longest while, I thought, well, how can I prevent that? So I would I'd take the router and I'd unplug it. I'd unplug that thing and I'd just leave it on. Well, it didn't work. Well, that worked for a little while until they realized, Dad left it unplugged. Now I'm online, right? So, great. Nice, right. Okay, so I thought, well, what can I do? I'll unplug the cable. Leave it plugged in, the lights are on, but I'll just unplug the cable. I'm like, Dad, click. That took maybe all of a day. I'm really not going anywhere as fast here. How many of y'all have one of these in your house? A wireless router. Okay, we're going to talk about wireless safety here in a little bit. But this particular wireless router is a little bit different than the ones you'd buy at Walmart or Best Buy or whatever. This is a cellular wireless modem, and it requires you contract with a provider that has these little USB cellular cards. You've probably seen these being in the government. You probably use them. Basically, plug them into your computer and you have a cellular internet connection. Not very fast, probably not as fast as your Comcast would be or whatever, but sufficient enough in the house to do homework and things like that. Well, what this particular router does is it lets you connect the internet into the router and you use your internet through here. Well, when Dad's not home, there's no internet either. So there's no more unplugging or plugging cables and or figuring out. If they don't have that, they're not going anywhere. Okay, so that's just one item. That's a Cradlepoint router. Well, Sprint actually had their own version of it, which was actually a portable version of that you can take on trips and vacations and whatever. So I would just take this, I took that out of the house and just took that with me. So because they were taking the cable and they were plugging it into their computer directly and they were trying to get around it in different ways, well, the whole thing is with me now. I just get up in the morning and I put it in my pocket and I leave. That's it. So, but practical, maybe not, $50 a month. It was worth it for me for my peace of mind. But now with new routers, you can set parental restrictions in the router. How many of you have a wireless router or a router and you know how to get in to administer it? Just a couple, right? Okay. Well, not uncommon. You can get in and you can set times that the internet is on and times when it's off. You can have rules in there for that. So you can actually get in there and look at your owner's manual and tell you how to set those rules up. I want the internet to be active between, I'd say 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the evening when I get home till 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night, and then after that it's off, but it's on the weekends. And you can set those days, just little check boxes with little hours in them, and you can do that. And depending on the router, depends on how crazy you can get with those rules. Some they're real basic, some are really broadband, and you can do a lot with them. You can say only this particular computer can get on between these hours and this hour. So you just have to search for that router. I mean, the new Cisco routers are really good, and I've had a lot of success with those. And I'm going to talk about some router stuff last half. Okay, next slide. Okay, phishing. This is not the one that's really loud for my crew up there at the top side. Phishing is the act of sending an email to the user falsely claiming to be an established legitimate enterprise, so on and so forth. You get them all the time. Hey, you've been pre-approved. Click here, fill out the application, put all your privacy data in there, and then we're going to send you a credit card. Nah. No, they're going to take all your money and send you the bill. But phishing is a real big problem, and I only like to just pretty much touch on it lightly because businesses and companies really, really dwell on this, and I think it's become a very popular concept in every home. But it's just like, how many of you send mail out, put the mail in the mailbox on the outside and flip the flag up and just let the post office pick it up? Not anymore. Okay, very, very few people do it. I mean, when I first started this, I was like, well, I do that, yeah. Now I'm like, no, I take it and put it in them blue boxes. People steal it. It's the same thing. Okay, it's just digital. So let's see, let's start that video. This is kind of a comedy clip.
You have mail.
Okay, just a quick little funny skit though, but it really does paint the picture though, really. They're out there and they're trolling, they're just gonna reel it out there, and if they get one person, they just made some money, right? Pretty much.